Always great talking to my next guest. He is a standout NCAA Division I wrestler, Bo Nickal, back here on the program. Bo, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, James. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to catch up with you. Obviously, a lot's happened since last time you and I talked, but let's first start with the transition to MMA from wrestling. How has that gone for you so far, and how's everything been?
It's good. So I'm not exactly, transitioned over yet with the Olympics for wrestling being postponed a year. I'm still wrestling full time, but we've also just had a lot of weird situations with the quarantine and at Penn State they've been pretty hesitant with letting people work out and stuff. So the facilities on campus were closed for about 2 months, and in that time I went down to Coconut Creek to American Top Team, and I got an awesome opportunity to train. I just I needed to get on the mat. So I got to go down there and train with all the guys at ATT, Masvidal, and I had a great time. It was super awesome. It was a lot of good work that I got done, and I feel like I'm just so excited to transition over when the time comes.
Yeah, I spoke to Dan Lambert. He's really excited about the program that's sort of been put in there with the wrestlers working with the MMA fighters. You talked about COVID-19. In terms of your day-to-day, how did that change things? Not only being at home, but also at ATT. I'm sure you couldn't do too much because a lot of stuff was shut down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, while I was up at State College, pretty much from like mid-March on, typically we wrestle on campus in the Penn State wrestling room, and all of campus and all the facilities have been shut down, the weight room and stuff. So for the first part of it, I was just trying to get as much work done at home as I could, just doing circuits at home. And I have a friend that's a pretty good boxer, so he would come over and we would hit pads and just get work in however we could. We didn't have a mat available to us, so I couldn't really do any wrestling. But just staying active. Sometimes I got a lot of trees in my backyard. I'll just go chop down a tree or something like that, just trying to just be creative with my workouts. But yeah, when I got the chance to go down to American Top Team and just get on the mat, I jumped at it because I was just so ready to be back on the mat. I love doing that. And I got to go down and learn some grappling, learn some striking, and just have a good time. It's a good place to quarantine for sure.
What has been the biggest challenge for you working with those MMA fighters, in your opinion?
I think it's definitely a different pace. Like wrestling, it's 2-3 minute periods typically. So, it's a higher intensity at a lower volume. So just adjusting to like it's a different intensity. It's not as intense, but you're definitely increase the volume, just striking, doing 5-minute rounds, multiple 5-minute rounds back to back to back. The cardio is definitely different. I think that like once I figure out the pace, then it'll help me a lot. But just learning how to control the pace, the tempo that you want to fight at, and also with that, I guess just like I pick up all the techniques pretty fast. So like the technical stuff isn't too much of an issue. It's the pace and just making that adjustment has probably been the biggest thing. But yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, I love MMA. I feel like it's nice too because with like striking and with jiu-jitsu grappling, you can literally go for like hours. Like we'll go multiple sessions a day for like 2-3 hours. Like if I try to do that with wrestling, like there's no shot. Like my body would hold up. Like we're in and out in like an hour and a half, and we're done. If that, sometimes less. And so, yeah, it's just like kind of making that adjustment over. But it's fun. I love being in the room. I love being in the gym. So like, the more I can be in the gym, the more I want to be in the gym. And it's really fun for me. But yeah, I can't wait to transition over full time.
How was it working with Masvidal? I mean, that's one of the coolest guys I would imagine to get to train with. Just not only his fight style, but also his personality as well. I'm sure you had a lot of fun with that.
Oh yeah, he's an awesome dude. I think that we definitely clicked when I first got there. I think that it was really cool to see like a guy like that he doesn't have like a super extensive wrestling background, but he just respects the sport so much. So immediately with that, I was like just excited to work with him because, for me, I go around the country. I do a lot of clinics, a lot of seminars, stuff like that. And I work with people. I enjoy coaching. And he was like one of the easiest guys to coach. And, generally like the older guys get, the harder it is for them to make changes and adjustments and adapt and learn. But I mean, he was picking up stuff so fast, which was like so awesome for me to see just because like, I just I enjoy being able to coach guys that are really coachable like that. And then on the opposite side, just being able to learn from him was so it's crazy. Like the way I kind of explain it, it's like like if somebody were to like come in the wrestling room and like not have much. Let's say they were just like a boxer, or they didn't have really wrestling experience, and they were to like try to wrestle me, like the way that I would move, and like they can't really like predict it or see it, and it's just like so fast, like you can't really even tell what they're doing. Like they're doing like 10 steps in like a second, but like it's like one step for them. And that's how it is for him for striking. Like whenever he'd be like standing in front of me and he would do something, and to me it would be like 12 steps to like get to that point, and for him it would be like a split second. And so like just seeing like all the experience that he has with his stand-up game and just MMA in general was like super awesome, just for me to be able to learn from a guy like that that's had so many professional fights and been able to travel across the world and train and compete. Like that's exactly like the type of people that I want to surround myself with.
And with Masvidal, obviously, I know he's not really known for his wrestling, so getting to work with you, I'm sure, is a huge bonus. What improvements, I know it hasn't been long, but what improvements have you noticed with him just getting to work with you?
Man, I mean, it's crazy. Like I said, like people don't pick up wrestling fast, but like he's an outlier for sure. Like he picks it up quick. Like, I was saying, honestly, like if he got, 6 months in the Penn State room, a year in the Penn State room, he would be like very competitive with like good wrestlers. He has good hips, good balance. And, so like I was actually pleasantly surprised like how good his wrestling was. And like he was picking up stuff really fast, like things that are like, typically, like I said, difficult for guys to pick up. But yeah, I mean, he's just an athlete. Like he's an athlete. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter whether we're wrestling, grappling, striking, playing spike ball. Like you can just tell the dude's athletic, and he has a good like awareness of his body, and like just like like he's very like high IQ, like with I guess combat sports in general.
Now, are you still in Florida, or are you back home now?
I'm in Pennsylvania right now.
Okay, gotcha. Have you talked to Masvidal recently? Obviously, I'm sure he's disappointed you didn't get that fight with Kamaru Usman. He's kind of just waiting to see what's next. When was the last time you spoke to him?
I spoke to him yesterday. He wants me to come back down to get a little spike ball, and we were having some good games.
Who's better? I got to ask. I mean, this is a competitive game, I would imagine.
I have a lot of spike ball experience on him, so he's a good player. But I've been playing for a while, so I probably got it. But he's good. Like I said, he's an athlete. Like he picks stuff up fast. So well, I'm excited to get back down there and train. But yeah, at this point, the wrestling room opened back up in Pennsylvania, so I had to be here just because my main goal right now is to be Olympic gold medalist in 2021. So I'm focusing my time on that. And as soon as I don't like to, a parable that I heard is, if you chase the guy that chases two rabbits doesn't catch either. And so for me, I'm just going to stay focused on one rabbit. And when the time comes, then I'll be MMA full time, and I'll be down in Coconut Creek a lot. And I'm sure a lot of those guys at ATT will be up here too training, because I'm opening a gym. It should be ready to go in January.
Very cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, the update on the gym, but that's good that everything's going on. Just one more thing on Masvidal. Obviously, it's been in the news. Colby Covington had left the gym. Were you there during that time when Colby had split with the gym? Were you aware of it or of what was going on?
I mean, not really. Like I've only ever spoke to Colby one time, and he came up and said hi to me the first time I visited ATT. That was it. So like I don't really know the guy at all. I know that I think that it was probably best for both parties. Just in general, that he part ways with the gym. Probably it worked out better for everybody. But yeah, I mean, I never really spoke to him or anything, and he wasn't ever really there while I was training. So I think he was already on his way out at that point.
And who else did you get to work with in American Top Team aside from Masvidal? I think Pedro Munoz, I interviewed him. He mentioned that he was a guy that sort of at least got to do a little bit with you.
Yeah, Pedro was in there. There was pretty much all the pros were in there. The guys that I worked with specifically a lot was Coach Mike Brown, and I worked with Steve Mocco. Those were the main coaches that I was working with. And then I worked with Masvidal's striking coach, Paulino, and like he's amazing coach. So I was like super excited to learn from him. But yeah, and then I had two teammates down there with me, Cody Law, who's I think he's like 5 or 6-0 amateur. He's gonna be coming up here pretty soon in the professional ranks. And then my college teammate Anthony Cassar, he's on the same plan as me to transition to MMA after the Olympics. So we were all down there just living in the dorms, living it up, having a good time. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time at ATT. It reminded me a lot of the structure that we have at Penn State, but just for MMA specifically.
And how was it grappling Gordon Ryan in December? That whole experience, looking back.
That was fun. I mean, I kind of look back on it, and I'm just like a little pissed because I'm like, man, I practiced jiu-jitsu 2 times, and I went 13 minutes with the number 1 pound for pound guy, and like, I just like I really wanted to win that, not only for me but just for the wrestling community, because there's a lot of beef, like a lot of people saying, jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, this and that, and at the end of the day, truly, both sports are great. Both sports are amazing. I have so much respect for both of them because I just think they're really awesome. And but the way I look at it is like wrestling is basically 80% of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is about 10% of wrestling. So like the fact is, like, with where I'm at as a wrestler, I could go in and go 13 minutes with the number 1 pound for pound guy. I think that says everything about the sport. But at the end of the day, it sucks to lose no matter what. So like, I just think I want to get some more jiu-jitsu training in and definitely like get a rematch just because I just hate losing. Like, I'm just a competitor. And so, he's obviously very good, but I think that like, if, I got about probably 6 months of solid jiu-jitsu rounds, jiu-jitsu training with good guys, high level guys, that it would definitely be a lot different story, with the same rule set that we had, and then eventually move into like, full rule set with guard pull and leg locks. But, that's just not really super practical for me. So I feel like the rule set that we had, made sense. But yeah, I would definitely like to run it back with him. I had a lot of fun, but yeah, I can't really look at it with like too much positivity because I did lose. So
I get the competitiveness. I can feel it over this interview that obviously you're a competitive guy. You don't want to lose at anything, right?
I get a little upset just even thinking about it because like, it just like, I mean, at the end of the day, he beat me in his sport. So like, that doesn't really mean that much, but I just freaking wanted to beat him just to like, cause I'm like so diehard for the wrestling community. Like, my grandpa wrestled in college. My dad was a wrestling coach. I was in the practice room, within a week of being born. And so like, it's just like in my blood, and like I just want to like show out for the wrestlers, and like that's how, like, so I just kind of get like I'm like a little tight, like thinking about like that. Just at the end of the day, like I did learn a lot from it, and it was a fun experience. But I would love to run it back.
I imagine no grappling until after the Olympics, right?
No, not really. I mean, up here, there's not in State College. There's not really like a big opportunity to. There's some good gyms out in Pittsburgh. I work with Isaac Greeley at Mma Factory. He's a really good. He wrestled, and he's a really good jiu-jitsu coach. So I have some time when I go out to Pittsburgh to work with him. But I'm wrestling 99% of the time, and like the only time I do jiu-jitsu really is like on a traveling trip. But I mean, I'm not really practicing jiu-jitsu at all.
And take me through the timeline of, what things are going to look like going forward, heading into the Olympics. Like, do you just, I guess, just have like a 5-day-a-week thing? Like what is your training schedule leading into the Olympics?
Yeah, so we have a good structure with the NLWC. I go usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday wrestling. Saturday I have like a hard lift. Tuesday morning I have a hard lift. So I'm doing like about 6 workouts a week ish, and then Wednesday, Sunday is recovering. But it's pretty structured up here, so I don't really have to worry about that. I just kind of I get there, I go hard, I listen to my coaches, I trust in my training. That's the plan moving forward. The same old. Just I've been doing this for 5 years, almost, or I guess 6 years now since I got to Penn State, and we have a good system, and I believe in my training, my coaches. I know I have the best workout partners in the world, so it's just kind of at this point, getting 1% better every day.
What is the cutoff for like the tryouts and everything like that? Like, what's the timeline of like the Olympics and everything else? Because I'm trying to remember, because I know COVID obviously has impacted everything.
Yeah. So how it works basically is right now I'm already pre-qualified for the trials. So there's still a few more spots that people have to qualify for the trials. I'm not really sure how they're going to work that out yet. They're probably going to have to do another tournament, but I want to say there's like maybe 10 or 12 guys that will be at the trials, and then it's just you got to win the tournament. Like you win the tournament, you're the guy. One guy is a rep. There's only 6 weight classes, so it's very competitive. But yeah, I mean, I'll be ready to go, so I'm excited about it.
And before I let you go here, we got a lot of really interesting MMA fights coming up. At the time we're recording this is Saturday. We've got Dustin Poirier, who's an ATT guy, fighting Dan Hooker. What fights are you looking forward to going forward? I'm not sure how much you pay attention to the sport right now.
Yeah, I follow MMA pretty closely. I'm definitely excited for Poirier Hooker. I think that's going to be a slugfest. That should be a fun one for sure. Definitely like I guess my division is middle. I'll probably be fighting at middleweight. So just seeing like what shakes out with the middleweight with to see if like Costa and Adesanya can get a fight, something like that. Some big fights at 85 coming up. I know Yoel is fighting. I think
Uriah Hall. Yeah, I think they confirmed that the other day. So in August.
Yes, that should be pretty sick. And then of course like Khabib Gaethje. I can't wait for that one. That one's gonna be a freaking banger. I'm excited just to see how Gaethje's wrestling stacks up against Khabib because he pretty much mauls everybody wrestling wise, grappling wise, but Gaethje's no slouch. But nobody sees it. He's just knocking everybody out. So nobody really sees how good his wrestling is specific to MMA. But I remember watching him. He was from a similar area to me growing up. So I remember watching him when he was in high school through college. So I definitely he's gonna have to grapple in that fight. So I'm excited to see it. It's gonna be fun.
You mentioned Yoel Romero. Did you get to work with him at all, or at least get to meet him at all? Because he's quite the character, just like Masvidal.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to meet him unfortunately, but I would love to. That's a guy that I really feel like I need to train with. I wanna get in there and feel him. He's a freaking tank. He's a beast. At his age with where he's at physically, it's honestly insane. But that's a dude that I definitely want to get a hold of, and I feel like I'm gonna have a lot to learn from him in so many different areas. But yeah, I haven't got the pleasure of meeting him yet, but I'm sure once I'm back down at ATT, I will at some point.
Bo, it was great catching up with you, man. Glad to hear everything's going well. Excited to see what happens with the Olympics. We'll definitely have to do a follow-up closer to that and see sort of what happens there. But in the meantime, man, if you got anything to plug, any sponsors, any social media, anything like that, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I guess you can follow me on Instagram at NoBickle1. Yeah, that's about it. I appreciate you having me on. This was a fun interview.